Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
Voters head to the polls in Mississippi today for a hotly contested runoff election for the U.S. Senate. I'm Laura Podesta. Coming up, a look at how race has played a major role in this election.
And the city of Bozeman is struggling to improve streets quickly enough to keep up with the growing population. Coming up, the projects that are being bogged down and what the city is doing about it.
Just ahead of 6:30 on this Tuesday, Chet Lehman, Missy O'Malley with you. Matt has our forecast in a moment. Meantime, our top story this half hour. President Trump was back on the campaign trail yesterday. He held 2 rallies for the Republican candidate in Mississippi's runoff election for U.S. Senate.
CBS's Laura Podesta is in New York with our details on how race has played a major factor in keeping this contest so close.
3 weeks after the midterms, Mississippi is holding a runoff election today for the final Senate seat up for grabs. Republican Cindy Hyde-Smith, a Senate appointee, is in a closer than expected battle with Democrat Mike Espy. Both hope to fill the final 2 years of retired Senator Thad Cochran's term.
For anyone that was offended by my comments, I certainly apologize.
Hyde-Smith has been under fire for remarks recently caught on camera. Video from earlier this month shows her alongside a supporter, joking that if he ever invited her to attend a public hanging, she'd sit in the front row. A photo also surfaced from 2014 showing Hyde-Smith wearing a Confederate Army soldier's hat.
Her comments don't reflect the value of our state.
Espy would be the first black senator from Mississippi since the 1800s.
It gives us a black eye. Again, in this state, we don't need any more black eyes.
God bless the USA.
President Trump gave Hyde-Smith his full support during 2 rallies yesterday.
She loves our military. She loves our vets.
And you can count on me when it comes to your conservative values.
Less than 24 hours before the polls opened, another reminder of the election's racial tension. Several nooses were found on trees at the state capitol in Jackson, hung by critics of Hyde-Smith. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
Now, while an Espy win would be considered a huge upset, it wouldn't shift the balance of the power in Congress. Republicans maintain at least an edge in the Senate, so no matter the outcome.
6:31 now. Meteorologist Matt Elwell joins us. Kind of a mixed bag depending on where you're at for weather out there and depending on the factors. A lot of it having to do with wind or lack thereof.
That's exactly right. Areas like Livingston, the temperature's a little warmer because we have more wind mixing up the atmosphere. It's near 40 degrees there, 28 in Belgrade, 37 in Butte. A little more wind there. That's kind of how that works, I guess. The clouds trying to roll in. It looks like we're going to see more clouds than not for the day today. In fact, we may see few rays of sunshine, but our evening brings the best chance of snow to the region. We're going to talk about how many inches you can see where. That's all, of course, coming up in just a few minutes.
6:32, bless you, Missy. 6:32, the Montana Highway Patrol has finished its report and says speed was probably a factor in a crash that killed 4 members of a North Dakota family on Thanksgiving Day. The wreckage was not found until Friday night near Huntley. Anthony and Chelsea Dean had been traveling from Idaho to Ekalaka, Montana with their 2 young daughters. Highway Patrol says the family's SUV with a car trailer in tow traveled into the median for a distance before going airborne and finally striking a concrete bridge support pillar. The vehicle then slid nose down into Pryor Creek. Anthony Dean, a Global Hawk helicopter crew chief assigned to Grand Forks Air Force Base. Chelsea Dean was a volunteer firefighter for the Manville, North Dakota Fire Department.
Just devastating story there. Now in Missoula, 2 teenagers were shot behind Sentinel High School back in June. Since October, the judge in the case has been determining if the suspected shooter should be tried as an adult or a youth. MTN's Connor McCauley has been following this case and brings us the latest from the Missoula County Courthouse.
Missoula District Court Judge John Larson has determined that 17-year-old Dylan Conant will face an assault with a weapon charge as an adult after a transfer hearing was held back in October.
Conant is accused of shooting 2 teenagers behind Sentinel High School on June 25th. Court documents state that the 2 victims told police that Conant had attempted to rob them behind Sentinel High School after meeting them at the mall. The 2 victims say that they were able to fight Conant off and wrestle the gun away from him in the process. Conant tells a different story, and when he took to the stand during the transfer hearing, he said that the 2 victims had attempted to rob him. According to Conant, during the attempted robbery, he pointed a handgun at the 2 victims in an attempt to get them to stop beating him. Conant said he never intentionally fired the gun and that it had just gone off while the other two teens continued assaulting him. Now, Conant will continue to face the assault with a weapon charge as an adult.
Judge Larson says that Conant has had a violent past and that an assault with a weapon charge warrants adult prosecution. He cites those facts and others in his ruling. In Missoula, Connor McCauley, MTN News.
Conant was scheduled for a jury trial on January 4th, but that court date has been reset to the 19th of February.
We're going to shift gears back here to the Gallen Valley for a moment. Some of Bozeman's road improvements have been delayed, including a roundabout at Oak and Ferguson.
MTN's Medeiros Babb talked with officials to find out why the city is behind and whether it will catch up on the construction projects in the future.
We've gotten behind, and I'm just not sure how we catch up.
City Commissioner Jeff Krause says he can think of projects that cost over $3.5 million still unfinished. Being behind concerns him, especially when it comes to growth.
We've bitten off quite a bit here. If there's no roads, there are no houses being built. And that's a problem we have as a city. How do we finance the infrastructure to try to provide housing for the people who have moved here and the people that are moving here?
One of the projects that has been put off is the roundabout to be constructed on Durston and Ferguson, of which interim Public Works Director Sean Coates said will be delayed until next year due to complications.
But we had to acquire the right-of-way on all four corners of the intersection, and it took longer than anticipated to do that.
While Krause is concerned the city may fall behind by taking on more projects like improving College Street and Griffin Drive while still working on Baxter, Ferguson, and Durston, Deputy Mayor Chris Mell says other road improvements are a must.
For safety mostly, and then second, just people getting to where they need to be, where they're taking kids to school or going to work or getting some groceries. We want to make sure that we have an infrastructure system that works.
The city says construction on Baxter is expected to be finished within the next year. In Bozeman, Medeiros Babb, MTN News.
Now, in hopes of reducing delays in the future, Krause says that the city has decided to start bidding for projects in the winter instead of the middle of the summer.
Certainly more to follow on that story.
Absolutely. And millions of people pass through West Yellowstone to see our nation's first park. It turns out thousands each year also visit West Yellowstone for a great cup of coffee.
In this week's Montana Made, we visit Morning Glory Coffee and Tea in West Yellowstone. It is a business that, thanks to technology, not only has Yellowstone in its backyard, but also the rest of the planet. This is the West Yellowstone entrance to Yellowstone National Park. Hard to believe that's the most popular entrance to Yellowstone in the summer and in the winter. Right now in the shoulder season, it is not an entrance to the park. It is completely gated off. That's a challenge for businesses in town of West Yellowstone. They have to sit back, have a cup of coffee, and wait until the tourists come back when the roads reopen for oversnow for winter or for the cars in the summer. Or, as one business, they simply roast the coffee and sell it elsewhere.
For every corner store, there were roasters and brewers, and every community had those things. So we wanted to be able to be a manufacturer and create a product in an area that we loved living and we wanted to be able to share that with the world. And in West Yellowstone, that's an easy thing to do.
What isn't easy was convincing customers you roast good coffee in a place known for bears and bison, not beverages.
I mean, in traditional marketing, you're right, we're not in the best place for that type of focus. But social media and the internet have opened that up and made, again, a larger world more local. We were early adopters to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn, all of those platforms. We've over time built an audience of about 56,000 followers and a reach of about 1.5 million impressions a week. And we've created a conversation with people that either want to come to Montana or who have been here and enjoyed their experience, and we've got the product that kind of goes in between that. I've always said that our brand, Morning Glory's brand, is not traditional. Morning Glory's brand is Montana, and we promote Montana as such. And then our coffee, our product, is a part of that brand, part of that experience when people come to Montana and enjoy both, hopefully. I've always been of the belief that the only wrong way to drink coffee is to not drink it at all, and that it should be quality, comfort, and good taste. And that's what our focus is to create a quality product. We start with an ethical and sustainable buying practice, and then we go from there to create products that people are going to actually enjoy on a lot of different levels.
In West Yellowstone, Chet Lehman, MTN News.
Now, Morning Glory Coffee started out as a traditional coffee shop, but Burke soon discovered roasting and selling the coffee over the internet meant he and his wife and 2 sons could do all the work without having to hire additional staff to sell and brew coffee out of the shop. Thanks to the internet, Morning Glory Coffee is technically open 24/7. It may just take a few hours for Burke and his family to get that order ready to ship literally all over the world.
That's pretty cool.
When we had done the interview, we had received an order at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
They come in, ship the order out that day, it still goes.
Wow.
Wasn't 2 o'clock in the morning where the order came from, but it was here in West Yellowstone. So.
Also, the Orphan Girl really perked my interest.
Great combination with another local business as well. It gives the Morning Glory Coffee a chance to advertise their product in the distillery market at the same time. Orphan Girl able to, Headframe Spirits able to advertise in the coffee market, blending those opportunities together.
Perfect win-win symbiotic relationship.
Absolutely. Great stuff.
I love it.
Great coffee too.
Yummy. Thank you for that, Chet. Coming up after a quick break, we learn more about the campfire that's now killed 88 people in California.
But first, we're going to check in with John Dickerson to see what's coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS This Morning.
Good morning ahead on CBS This Morning. We'll look at what General Motors' planned layoffs and halted production lines mean for U.S. car makers and the future of driving. And the role NASA's InSight spacecraft will play in getting humans to Mars after its amazing landing on the red planet yesterday. We'll see you with all of that at 7.